Welcome to the show. We are back up and rolling after some extended time off. My last show was Festivus show.
Oh, man. Was it really that long ago?
Festivus, almost 2 weeks ago. Vince and Jesse checked in with a brief show last week. The time away, it gave me some time to kind of work on some different pet projects. I was working on this sitcom pilot. It's about a 40-something-year-old guy who's got a bunch of kids. He juggles a bunch of jobs, and he kind of sits around and like spews out a bunch of mid Notre Dame takes.
Mid?
I was going to call it Around the Bend with Ven, like working title.
You can't have the bend in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can't have the bend.
Can't have the bend in there.
All right. I was going to wear my The Bend t-shirt today. But
do you have one? Please tell me you have one.
I
wish you did.
I actually looked for one over the break. And I saw, like, on my Facebook feed, it must have been listening to us talking about The Bend a couple of weeks ago. If anyone missed it, which I'm sure some people did, on the Festivus show, which, of course, is the airing of grievances, Vince's top Notre Dame-related grievance was The Bend. The basketball uniforms, the theme, just using the name.
Yeah.
And so that was Vince's top grievance with Notre Dame. And so like a day or two later, I'm on my phone and in my Facebook feed, the Bend shirts come up. And so I click and I was like, because it was like, on sale. And I was going to get one. I what I wanted to do was to be sitting here today wearing my The Bend shirt just for Vince, day one back. But they only had mediums.
No.
Yeah.
It's just it's a bit of the whole Bend thing. It's just a bit of a reach. It's a big time money grab.
I see that the men, their next home game is going to be The Bend game when they host Clemson next week.
Wonder if the officials will be wearing the Bend t-shirts.
I know.
Make Shrewsbury happy with the officials then.
Yeah, no kidding. Something's got to make him happy. Oh, my gosh.
Woof.
Crazy that the most viral, probably college basketball anything so far this season was Micah Shrewsbury going after officials.
It was not good, Sean.
I know.
It was not good, but we're going to talk about that at some point. But I got a lot to say on that one, too.
We will. We've been away, so we got a lot of things to actually talk about on today's show. I did want to mention some big news to pass along today. If I say two pros, what's the first thing that comes to mind to you?
And a cup of Joe.
Ah, yes. Did you happen to listen on your way into work this morning?
No.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, how would I listen? Like, what is the frequency?
Sports Radio WSBT 960 AM is now the home as of this morning. Two pros and a cup of Joe featuring Brady Quinn and LeVar Arrington. I started this morning, the new morning show here on this station.
Man, I need to get on board. I had no idea. I did not get the company email on that. So I'm going to blame management, but
probably a reason for that.
I enjoy their takes. I enjoy their show. So I will be tuning in from here on out. And my twin daughters are just going to have to deal with it on the way into school.
And I won't say I've been like pushing hard for it forever, but you may have heard. Did you ever listen to the Maggie and Perloff show in the morning?
Yes.
Good, bad, indifferent.
It was I was very indifferent. Like it was just It was an show for me. Yeah.
Well, that show is gone.
Oh,
and
wow.
Apparently there was a merger of a couple different media companies, and that show, Maggie and Perloff, got shown the door. It got eliminated. And so that whatever, I don't remember the like whatever the name of the company is now that basically we were taking. We put a new show on that replaced it last week. And let's just say it was it didn't really register with the brass because they didn't get like any chance to actually hear the new show, any kind of demos or anything like that. So I got the email over the weekend. I don't even know the name of the old show, but that show is gone.
Wow.
Two pros and a cup of Joe, Brady Quinn, LeVar Arrington, right here on this freaking station. I'm fired up. I was like That was one of the first questions I asked when I started working back here again. Hey, have you guys ever thought about Brady Quinn, 2 Pros and a Cup of Joe? Put that on, and now it is reality.
I am
about that.
I do not want to look a gift horse in the mouth because I do believe that whatever the other show was, this is a better option. Okay.
Yes.
But just to play devil's advocate, usually over like the Christmas holiday, there's like backups and like all like
right.
Was there did we get a full sense of what this other show even was?
Yeah, well, again, I never listened.
Okay.
I didn't hear it. I was out of town for most of last week, but
fair enough.
But yeah, it just did not go over.
Okay.
Well. So
cool. Hey, ends justify the means as far as I'm concerned.
Right,
like I'm excited about that. It will be tuned into tomorrow.
That's right.
I'm in.
You know, Vince, it's crazy. It has been 37 days since Notre Dame played its last game of the season. Stanford, November 29th. That was Notre Dame's last game. 37 days since that. 29 days since the college football playoff selection show that was on December 7th. But Notre Dame has remained a constant topic of conversation for the entirety of these last 5 weeks.
Yep.
They haven't played a game in 5 weeks, 5+ weeks now at this point. It's just been Notre Dame everywhere, like just rolling off the tips of everyone's tongues. And, you know, the latest I can't get you out of my head topic of conversation came the other day over the weekend. ESPN released these inflated bowl ratings. Did you see the graphic that they tweeted out?
I heard about it. I heard about it.
So the Pop-Tarts Bowl drawing 8.7 million viewers, giving, you know, soft target Notre Dame haters the chance to point out the fact that the bowl Notre Dame opted out of had more viewers than all but one Notre Dame regular season football game this year.
I mean, okay, like that. This is where you need your shirt. The stats lie, whatever it is.
For losers.
Stats are for losers. That's what it is.
Yes.
This is where you need that shirt because there's no way to prove this, but I would go to my grave with this thought in mind that if Notre Dame participated in the most shtick-worthy bowl game of the postseason, which is the Pop-Tarts Bowl, by the way. I mean, it's all shtick, right? The trophy's a toaster. You've got the live.
No, exactly. Like I will give the Pop-Tarts Bowl this.
Yeah.
Like they have like the better completely nothing to do with the actual bowl itself. Like
Correct.
they've got the gift. Like
yes.
they've got the viral social media thing with the dancing Pop-Tarts and the toaster and the whole thing. And yes. I do think that part of the deal is people tune in.
They want to see the shtick.
That. Yeah.
They want to see the shtick. And I get it. If Notre Dame participated in place of Georgia Tech, okay, you would have had more than 8.7 million viewers. Period. Agreed. And there's no way you can convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
None.
And as Indiana Grinders 14U, little travel baseball team, it looks like they're 34,000 people in attendance. Like, did you notice? Did you watch any of the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
I did not. No, I saw the.
I
highlights,
watched just a little bit.
Low lights.
I watched a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if since you didn't really watch, ESPN did its best to only show the lower bowl of the stadium.
Of course, because it was empty
once
at the
or
top.
twice where they panned and they had the wrong angle. Yeah, and there were nothing but empty seats at the top of the stadium. Like,
right.
Yes. I think it's just hilarious because all these people want to keep bringing Notre Dame into the conversation, even though they keep saying they hate Notre Dame. And again, like Notre Dame didn't even play in this game, and they had to take their shots. It's like the opening scene in Wedding Crashers. I don't know when the last time you saw Wedding Crashers was.
I know the whole movie right here.
Yes. The opening scene where they're doing the divorce litigation, Rebecca De Mornay and Dwight Yoakam, and they're sitting there with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. And it's like Notre Dame, the hate side is on one side, you shut your mouth when you're talking to me. And then, you've got, like Notre Dame on the other side of the table. And it's like, that's right, baby, go comatose for me. And like that's what it feels like to me. They're just like bickering back and forth for no real reason. And in the meantime, it's just comedy gold because, Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson to just riffing, there in the middle. Hey, if you want to throw a few miles at us,
I mean, we'll take them.
That's right.
That's great. That's a fantastic movie.
But even this whole ratings thing, of course ESPN is gonna, pump itself as much as possible. But it's like, it's important to note that ratings for all sporting events are up this year. And, no one's going to put an asterisk by it, but Nielsen changed its measurement for its rating system this year. Like, they didn't used to do the out-of-home ratings, like bars and restaurants, basically. But they changed it, so all of that is included now. So it's kind of like, shooting fish in a barrel. Everyone's ratings are up this year. But, of course, they weren't going to say that when they released their nice little graphic about all their bowl ratings, setting, like the Pop-Tarts Bowl set a record, and, all these the Revisa Quest Bowl set a record. Of course, they all set a record. Everything is setting records this year because Nielsen changed the ratings system. And so all ratings are up. But, no one wants to mention that. And, of course, like anyone who wants to take their sideways shot at Notre Dame is not going to mention that either. But the other thing as well is comparing bowl game viewership to regular season viewership is like that's an apples and orange situation, because like all these bowl games are in standalone windows. Like ESPN isn't going to counter program itself, there was no bowl game opposite of any of these bowls. The Pop-Tarts Bowl, go down the list, it's just like Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football. They're all standalone windows. Well, during the regular season of the college football season, like every game that's on whatever, pick your network, there are other games on at the same time. So there's a big difference when you're trying to compare viewership for these different things, because the one regular season Notre Dame game that did have a better rating than any of these bowl games was the Notre Dame Miami game. They had like 10.5+ million. And why? Well, part of it is Labor Day weekend, and they had a standalone primetime.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not that hard to figure out.
Right. So, and look, the whole, they're going to freeze Notre Dame out, and nobody's going to schedule them is just utter nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense, the whole thing. And, it's at the end of the day, Notre Dame does bring in viewership, and they put butts in seats. I not only do I guarantee you they would have had better than 8.7 million viewers, there also would have been more than 34,000 butts in the seats. And they wouldn't have had to have creative camera work in order for it to look like a full stadium. So those things are all true, and that's not going to go anywhere.
I'm surprised they're not using CGI.
Seriously, Notre Dame fans just need to take a breath, man. Like let them come. Let the haters come. It's fine. It's okay, because you're going to have to deal with it until this time next year. Like, that's what you're going to have to do. And that's it. It's fine. It is what it is.
Well, we've got a lot of fired up people in here.
Yeah,
we talk about the transfer portal and the fact that Notre Dame has been, I don't know, maybe stuck in idle a little bit. The start of the transfer portal.
It's day 3.
It's actually day 4, but there's.
Fine. Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, the first few days were all visits. Like, that's the thing. Like, nobody was getting commitments on the 2nd or the 3rd.
No, I know. It's like I realize, there are a lot of Notre Dame fans freaking out that 4,500 players are going to go someplace other than Notre Dame because they haven't committed within the first, let's call it 3.5 days to be fair. Like whatever you want to call it. It opened on Friday. We've had the weekend and today. And, I guess the top 2 Irish targets, the wide receiver Nick Marsh from Michigan State, he's committed to Indiana, and the Iowa State defensive back Jontez Williams, he committed to USC over the weekend. So, like, where are you? Like, how scale of 1 to 10, your freak out factor that Notre Dame hasn't landed a transfer in the first 3 days of the portal being open is what?
If it's scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not freaked out at all, 10 being like I'm going bonkers bananas, I'm like a 2. Like it doesn't, because Notre Dame is in a position right now, in my personal opinion, where they need a couple of holes to fill, some defensive line, things like that. They don't have. They're not looking for a quarterback. They're not looking for starting corners. They're not looking for super impact players. Okay, so
there's some impact, but it's like, but as you said,
but rotation. They're
not
looking
for a Riley
players.
Leonard or a Sam Hartman.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right.
They
They're
have the key pieces in place, and if they had to field a team today,
they could.
What they've got in place, especially with like what they've got, like they would be in really good shape. But they are looking well. They would be in pretty good shape. The biggest glaring hole is right in the middle of the
defensive line. Yeah. No, I get that. And
but other than that, they're not in bad shape.
No, they're not in bad shape. That's the thing. Offensively, they're fine. Could they have used Nick Marsh? Absolutely. That's not a guy that you're gonna say no to if he wants to come. But at the end of the day, they're gonna be fine at wide receiver. There's a ton of talent in that wide receiver room. Everybody needs to just take a deep breath. Everything, like, they've got starting running backs, right? They got starting receivers. They got tight ends. They got offensive line. They've got quarterback. Like, offense, they're in good shape. Okay, you're right. Defensive line needs a little bit of something. There's no doubt about it, right?
Michael Lynch here in the YouTube chat going the complete opposite direction. Correct. He's at a freak out of 10 right now.
Michael, take a breath, my guy. Like, it's gonna be okay. Like,
I do find it curious because okay, yeah, Jontez Williams and Nick Marsh, two of the higher rated guys at their positions. Would it have been nice to have at least one of those two guys? Absolutely.
Sure.
It would have. But look at the last couple of years. Jordan Clark and Devontae Smith, I think we can all agree those guys played really well at nickel for Notre Dame the last couple of seasons. Clark was the number 32 ranked defensive back. Smith was number 17. Okay, so they didn't land the top defensive back out of the portal. They did really well the last couple of years with what they got with guys who were ranked a lot lower at that position.
Absolutely.
Same with the wide receivers. Right. Malachi Fields wasn't number 1. I think he was number 9. Will Pauling was like the 70th ranked wide receiver. Those two guys combined for over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns for Notre Dame last season.
Right. Exactly. Look, we got plenty of time. And even after the portal window closes, you can still sign guys. The portal window is to jump into the portal.
Correct.
Not to come out. It's to jump in. So everybody, I don't think Notre Dame starts classes for another week. So there's still time to bring in some guys. They'll still be in and plenty of time to start the semester, all of those different things. So yeah, look, they need to get some defensive tackles. No doubt about it. That needs to happen, right? Josh Burnham, that was a loss, no doubt, but that wasn't handled very well. KK Smith, that one surprised me a little bit, but at the end of the day, he wasn't going to start. He wants to go someplace and start.
Right.
Do you blame him? You know what I mean? Okay. I get it, So everybody just needs to just see how this thing plays out.
And I mean, Smith has Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse in front of him. And then you've got other guys like Elijah Burris and Scrap Richardson coming on. And then you've got other freshmen coming in. It makes KK Smith is already going into his senior season. Next year, he's going to be a senior. And he wants to go someplace and play. So you completely... I completely understand that. Would you like to be able to keep those guys around? Of course you would, but you can't keep everybody. Well, and that's just,
so where we are. Notre Dame had 14 wide receivers on the roster on scholarship. 14. Somebody had to go. And look, that part of that is because.
And you want to add another guy to that room.
Exactly.
At least one guy.
Right. They got a 5-man freshman class, which is a big class at wide receiver. I get it. But they're not going to be telling freshmen who just signed to hit the road. Right. So, you've got to trim that room down if you want the roster size that you've got to get to. So somebody had to go. I like KK Smith. I think he's a good player, but he wasn't going to start at Notre Dame. That's just a fact. So it just is what it is.
Ghost of ND says, I'm not panicking, but I'm still angry at all the bull that's been said.
Okay. Right. Hey, you're entitled.
Or we the bull. Is that I
think he's talking about the haters.
Okay.
At least I would hope so.
Okay. All right. A lot more comments coming in the YouTube chat. Feel free to throw in your comments about the transfer portal and whatever else that you want to talk about. He's Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. I don't even think I officially introduced you, as we started this show at the top.
There's no need. It's all good. People know.
People know. That's right. People know. Kind of a big deal around here.
Kind of a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll continue. More transfer portal talk. Notre Dame, as of this point, might want to get on Twitter, I guess. We might want to jump on and see if any breaking news happens. Someone will probably let us know. But we will take a timeout. We'll continue with more of the talk that is coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com, along with guy who needs no introduction.
Self-proclaimed, of course.
I'm Sean Stiers. We do have some breaking news that I just saw.
Do we really?
Come out since the show started.
Oh, my goodness.
Central Florida defensive lineman Horace Lockett, one of Notre Dame's targets on the defensive line, has withdrawn from the transfer portal and is returning to UCF.
Wow.
I thought that was interesting.
Some Disney money in there.
Must have passed the hat and come up with some money
Man.
They put down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Question from Mr. Poley in the YouTube chat. Do you think all the negative media attention is affecting portal interest for Notre Dame?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with anything. I don't think these kids look at the media the way people think that they do. They're looking at pro prospects and money and fit, playing time, that kind of stuff. But I really don't think the media has the kind of pull on kids' attitudes as people think.
And I, again, like I'm not like Kevin Bacon in Animal House, with the band, like running into the brick wall, running around telling you, all is well, all is like.
Right.
But at the same time, again, it's been 3 days and only a couple guys have committed, and it just feels like everyone is acting like Notre Dame is never going to get anyone. That's what it feels like.
Right
now. That's what, because Indy Wine and Cheese is asking, does Notre Dame have an excuse to be in the position they're in after what IU has done in 2 years? Get the dudes, get control of your position coaches, put the pieces together, win the dang games. Again, they've got a bunch of visits planned this week. I don't understand why everyone is freaking out just because a couple guys in the transfer portal have made commitments to a couple of other places.
Right.
Not everyone commits on the first 2 days of the portal.
Correct.
Yes.
So, yes, absolutely correct. And you got to kind of let it play out a little bit. We're in day 4 of the portal. Most of the visits happened over the weekend. And so you're getting obviously some commitments here on Monday, which I totally understand. But you're also going to see some commitments because there's still visits scheduled throughout this week because school hasn't started yet. So things are still progressing. Are there still targets on Notre Dame's board? Absolutely. Did they miss on some guys? Absolutely. But that's the game. That's the game that we play. So, I feel like everybody just needs to just take a breath. It's okay.
Emma Eckstein says, I think the freak out is that Indiana seems to be building a superhuman team in the portal.
Because they're losing so many guys at the end of this year, though, too. Notre Dame has a ton of guys coming
back. They have
back.
relied on the portal a lot more than Notre Dame has, obviously.
Yes.
Well, Notre Dame still has a great recruiting class coming in.
Yes.
By the way, the number 2 class in the country, for those who might have forgotten.
I don't know where I use it.
Recruiting class.
But it wasn't number 2.
No, not even close.
Right.
And that's they've got to shell out the money. And, they've got some donors. Just ask Mark Cuban.
And it's going to be interesting to see. Look, so far, IU has defied what every other school has tried to do up to this point, which is build your roster through the portal year in and year out and continuously be successful, right? So they're 2 for 2, right? They're 2 for 2 so far. Can that be sustained? Because now the players from his last stop are now getting out of there because they're graduating out. You've got a bunch of 1-year rentals and they're graduating out. So can you continuously sustain success through the portal? So far they have, which I didn't think they would be able to because nobody else had done that up to this point. USC couldn't do it. All these teams that tried to do it couldn't.
Colorado couldn't do it.
Correct. Exactly. I'm bringing in my Gucci or whatever, my Louis. That's what he said. I'm bringing in my Louis.
Yeah.
Well, Louis got you 8 wins. So, good for you, I guess. Can IU continuously sustain that? I think that's still a question mark, but as of right now, the answer is yes, right? And so they are going to be more aggressive in the portal than Notre Dame is going to be because Notre Dame doesn't need to be that aggressive in the portal because they're just filling some holes. IU's filling a roster. That's the difference.
Again, it would have been great to have Nick Marsh, the Michigan State wide receiver,
absolutely
ultimately committed to Indiana. But at the same time, when you look at what Notre Dame has on the current roster, it's not like Notre Dame is hurting for wide receivers by any means. Jordan Faison was still Notre Dame's leading wide receiver last year, and he's coming back, and that's a really good thing. John Stryker, though, saying, quick question. I know that Nick Marsh was scheduled to visit Notre Dame. How does someone decide so quickly without ever visiting? Is it just the dollars? I mean, the dollars are part of it.
It's a big part of it.
But apparently Cignetti is telling guys when they visit, you've got to make a decision before you leave.
He's threatening them, basically.
Yeah.
It's the hard sell. It's the hard sell.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame does the exact opposite, by the way.
But it is a little bit odd considering Indiana, as of right now, doesn't even have a quarterback for next year. And Notre Dame has CJ Carr. That it makes it. So was the money that great?
I think I don't want to speculate because I don't know. But to your point, he is doing that. He's like, hey, we're going to take your commitment now or you're not coming, which is the hard sell. And it's working for him, obviously. And that's fine. I get it. But, the other, I don't know how, like, again, is that going to continue to work? I don't know. But the money had to have been part of it as well. I mean, it had to have been part of it. So, we'll see. I thought Notre Dame had a really good chance of getting Nick Marsh because I know that CJ Carr and him have a relationship. They're both from Michigan. They wanted to play together, and he never even made a visit to Notre Dame. So, if Notre Dame's going to be in competition with IU in the future for portal guys, they're going to have to get him on campus first. Like, that's what's going to have to happen, right? But Notre Dame does it differently than IU. Notre Dame encourages other visits. Go check it out. We want to make sure that you're sure. Go check out these other plays. That's fine. And if you still feel like you want to be at Notre Dame, come on back. It's just a different way of doing it.
So a couple, a lot of people obviously remember the name Keon Keeley, the defensive end who at one time committed to Notre Dame. He ended up going to Alabama. Sean is asking, any chance Notre Dame can win the Keon Keeley sweepstakes? Would love to add him. It's Mitch 85 says might be harder for Keon since he's an undergrad / not a graduate of Bama. Would love to grab him.
But as a freshman, you can get him in. Like that's just first year studies stuff.
Right. But Keon Keeley's not a freshman. Like
I thought he was a freshman.
No, he's been there for 3 years.
Shut up. Has it been that long? God, yes. I'm old. That's all that is.
Yes. And this is
my bad.
That's going to be the biggest issue. Notre Dame is one of the few schools who puts their football players on a 3-year track, to get them their degree in 3 years. And if he's been at Alabama for 3 years and he doesn't have his degree, it's going to be really hard to get him in. Like, these are conversations I was actually I've had in terms of like some of the transfers that the women's basketball team was trying to get. There were a couple players who had been at their schools for 2 and 3 years, didn't have degrees. Notre Dame couldn't get them in because of it doesn't matter what the sport is. If you're a grad transfer, it is astronomically easier to get these players in. But Keeley, I'm not going to speak for him in a specific instance, but in general, if they've been at a school for 3 years, 2 and 3 years, don't have their degrees yet, it's going to be really hard to get them in because, one, what kind of student are they? Do they have the grades? 2, they're going to want to come here, and the different deans of these schools, they want them to be able to get their degree, and if they're transcripts aren't going to jive, it's really hard to get them in.
Oh yeah, 100%. Really I mean, the kid that came over from Northwestern, he didn't have his degree yet, and it was really hard to get him into Notre Dame. These are top quality academic institutions, and it's hard to get these kids in. I mean, that's just reality, And so I completely agree with you. You can get kids in early if they've been into school for a year. You can get them in because that's a lot of first year study stuff, or a graduate. Those are the windows really to get into Notre Dame. Those are the windows.
Yep. MC 2737 says he's just here for the unbridled panic. It's actually been a little bit more chill than I thought it was going to be. There's been some panic.
There's a few.
Wouldn't call it unbridled just yet.
Yeah, there's a few. And look, I will give IU all their flowers, by the way. They are doing, Cignetti's doing things that have never been done before. And I give him a lot of credit for that. The only thing I question is it sustainable year in and year out. That's all. And time will tell. And he'll probably prove me wrong again because he continues to prove me wrong, which is great for them.
Well, we talked about it last offseason. It was an advantage for him to be able to bring some of those guys from James Madison, because even though they're a group of 5 caliber guys, which means they were probably like 3 stars at best, and even below that he was bringing over but to be able to just bring them and compete in the Big Ten was saying something. But he had it just in terms of having guys who were obviously bought into what he was selling, and to sell the rest of the roster on that, even though you were bringing them from different places. And a year later, he's still got some of those guys like Surratt, a few others that are on the roster. But again, it's like you keep adding, and you also continue to elevate the play of your team in a place that had not, it would have been a win for Cignetti last year just to go 8-5 and get to a bowl game.
Yes, 100%.
Let alone the college football playoff. And to do it 2 years in a row and to be sitting there 14-0 is just like no one has ever done anything even remotely close to what Kurt Cignetti has done.
He's the first one.
Not even close.
He's the first one. I mean, again, there have been schools that have attempted to build their roster through the portal. And I'm not talking about filling holes and doing things. I'm talking about building your roster through the portal. Like you almost had, like I use rosters almost completely different from what it was last year and what it was the year before. Like each year, this is a new invention of what IU football is every single year. And is that sustainable? Well, it has been for 2 years because they've lost 2 games in 2 years and they were both last year. Right. And one was in the playoff against Notre Dame at Notre Dame in one of the best crowds I've ever seen. So, kudos to what they're doing. They're playing by the rules. They're doing everything that they're supposed to do, and they're being successful at it.
Because it is much easier to do it now because of the transfer portal and because you can pay these guys. But at the same time, if it's because of the fact that there are paychecks on the line, you can get a lot of guys who are going to, sign on the dotted line for that paycheck and then potentially show up and, locker room killer, like attitudes and all those things. Again, short term, he's obviously stirred his way around that and he's got guys to buy in. How sustainable is it? That's a question. But that's for them, that's a question for another day because now they're in the freaking semifinals and they're still alive to win a national championship.
100%. They're in the Final Four. I mean, again, you tip your cap. Like, okay, well, you're doing it. So,
because even Texas Tech, at least for 1 year, they've done the same thing. A completely non-traditional, college football program. They've had some wins. Obviously, their most successful seasons prior to this year was when Mike Leach was there. But even Leach wasn't taking them to BCS bowls and that kind of thing. They were just they were just a nice 9-3, maybe 10-2 type program, as the ceiling, and that was it. But the transfer portal coupled with all the money that you can pour into things now has just completely changed the game for everyone, and they've benefited from it.
Yeah, and I think people also need to understand that right now at Notre Dame, they are still going to be a recruiting from the high school level focus, right? They're going to dabble in the portal. They're going to fill the holes. They're going to do the things that they need to do. They're not going to just throw out blank checks to guys to get them to come in the portal either. Right. I mean, that's still going to be a reality that people need to understand.
What do you think about this from Irish Fan for Life? He says, the question is Notre Dame, Mike Martin, obviously the general manager, and the higher-ups going to get more creative with their NIL package to compete with all these big spenders? Again, is it an issue just because 2 guys out of the portal have gone to another place, or do you just need to be a little bit patient and see how all this works out? Because, again, Notre Dame has done really well in the portal. Like last year at the defensive tackle positions, they brought in Jared Dawson and Elijah Hughes. Neither one of them was a huge name. And that position is one of the most in demand. Like teams need defensive linemen, interior linemen, guys with size, things that Hughes and Dawson brought. And while neither one of them played at an All-American level, they both played really well.
Absolutely.
Notre Dame. Yep. And that's a position of need, and they went out and addressed it. And they had not been able to do that previously. And it's obviously still a position of need right now. So just because Notre Dame has not signed these guys on the first weekend of the portal being open doesn't mean that Notre Dame has been a failure and they're lagging behind. I don't think. It's just a matter of, okay, they want to get these guys on campus, and there were guys on campus today. There are going to be guys on campus the rest of the week. And I think that ultimately it's going to play out fine. Now, if they don't obviously add a couple defensive tackles. We're having
Sure.
another conversation here
Right.
in a few weeks. But, I mean, as of right now, the plan is still in place. Like nothing, like I don't think anything as far as they're concerned has fallen through, other than the fact that a couple of the higher profile guys have ultimately signed at other places.
Right.
But I think that there's still, a pretty concerted net that's been cast, and I think that they're confident that they're going to get some of the guys who they really want to get out of this deal.
It is a situation where Notre Dame's NIL packages are just fine. Like the guys that are on the roster are doing just fine. They're not going, like I said, they're not going to be writing blank checks for guys in the portal. I just don't see that being the case unless they're looking for a quarterback or they're looking for, something along those lines. Then maybe they get competitive and maybe they do those kinds of things. I just don't see that being the case. They're the number 4 team in the country recruiting class this year. They're doing what they need to do, and that is their focus. That's who they are. And until they change their focus, that's going to be who you are at Notre Dame. And if you're a fan, you got to kind of get on board and don't be upset with it because they told you. Marcus Freeman told you that's what we're going to do. So you kind of have to expect the way this is going to roll out. You're not going to win every battle, on the recruiting trail, whether it's high school kids or whether it's the portal. That's just not reality. So you just have to be calm. You have to be patient. You have to wait for Notre Dame to do what they do. Now, the question was about, the GM and all that. I've heard some things, that are going on with the guys that are currently on the roster that I'm not super happy about with the way they're kind of changing the NIL amounts that guys are getting and things like that. And some of those guys have now jumped into the portal, but that's what Notre Dame wanted. That's why they did what they did. I just don't know if I agree with the evaluation.
And there's still the rev share part of it as well.
Absolutely.
Like even if it might not be coming from NIL specifically, there is still the rev share. And, Pete Bavacqua has said that Notre Dame is going to pay out the top of the rev share. Like it sounds like their rev share pool is a lot more like not every school has to go to the top end, but Notre Dame is going to go to the top end. So that's still a factor as well. So there's some give and take. There's some balance that comes with it, even though it might not all specifically be coming out of that NIL pool. Notre Dame's rev share is going to be, based on what Pete Bavacqua has said, is going to be as competitive as anyone out there.
Right. Absolutely. So, again, we'll see how things play out. There's a lot of time between now and when Notre Dame's done signing guys. And, again, they're not looking for game-changing guys right now, in my personal opinion. If somebody wants to come, they'll take them, right? But they're pretty set. Like, Notre Dame's roster's in pretty good shape, in my opinion. So I would be very curious to see, like, we're looking at the roster right now on January 5th, what we're looking at on August 31st, and who is actually starting games and who's in the rotation. What does that look like, and how many portal guys are involved? Like, you're going to have way more guys that are on the roster right now that are contributors.
I would say 90% of the starters who start next season are already on the roster, or, maybe coming in this freshman class that's going to be early enrolling. Like 90% most likely are already here. There are a few more comments that I want to get to from the YouTube chat. And there's some others. So we got a full second hour with rapid fire and a lot of different topics that we're going to get to as well. It's just a juicy Monday, Vince. Everyone's fired up about
They really are. Somebody in particular.
Vince hit the ban. Vince.
The timeout. We went timeout.
You banned.
It's a timeout.
All right. I've got one of Bernie's comments queued up. He is particularly fired up. That's right, Tuco. Weekend at Bernie's.
It's a little out of control.
Bernie is not happy about the weekend, and he takes issue with it right now. But I do have at least one of his comments and some other comments from the YouTube chat that we're going to get to here in just a minute, including the news of Josh Burnham, who entered the portal, and he is already committed to Indiana. So we'll do that when we return. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We should just call this show Overreaction Monday. Because, I mean, I think people are more fired up today than even after Notre Dame got. Now, granted, I didn't do a weekend show like the Sunday that Notre Dame got left out of the playoff, but we did obviously a show the next day, and everyone was pretty fired up about.
Oh yeah,
like people are just through the roof right now with what's going on or what hasn't gone on with the transfer portal.
Man,
Vince, I know that you put Bernie in timeout.
You already had a star, though. You were ready.
Started up for one of his comments before you put him in timeout. He says Notre Dame needs to do a complete overhaul of how they get players out of the portal. Disaster. Again, it's 3.5 days.
Not a disaster.
How is this? Like if Notre Dame is sitting here 2 weeks from now and they're in the position that they are in today, which is with 0 transfer portal commits, then yeah, that's a total disaster. But the portal just opened, and it is going to be open for 11 more days.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still a lot that can happen. Like there's a lot that can happen even before we're talking at this time tomorrow. Like now, did I think that they were probably going to open this weekend and it was going to go like boom, boom, and there were going to be a couple of commits? Yeah. But look at how Marcus Freeman has played this the last few years. They like even with Riley Leonard and Sam Hartman, like those were pretty poorly kept secrets in terms of like we knew those guys were going to commit, but even they didn't commit the first day the portal opened, right? Like there's a lot that's going to happen still. I'm fully confident that they're going to make pretty key additions, and some of them, yes, will be by the end of the week, but others might take a little bit longer. Like they want to make sure, like these are strategic pieces that they're going to add. And as Vince said at the top of the show, they're not adding quarterbacks like Sam Hartman and Riley Leonard, like guys that you absolutely have to have. Like, so I'm not going to freak out because they haven't added a couple of guys and because a couple of guys have committed at some other schools over the first weekend.
Right. Yep, absolutely. I'm not worried about it at all. There are plenty of names that we're hearing that Notre Dame is going after who have not committed anywhere, And look, I'll be honest with you. I'm more nervous or worried about who the kicker is going to be next year than anything else. Like that's the one spotlight position that Notre Dame needs to knock out of the park at this point because they've got one kicker on the roster and he's not even a real kicker. So like you need to go get a kicker in the portal.
Okay, so Mike Hockner, thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, man.
He says, if we're not looking for game changers, then nothing will change. Well, what was really bad this year? Like, did we all think that Notre Dame deserved to be in the college football playoff? Yes. Were the 2 losses, mostly attributable to the fact that you had really poor defensive performances the first 2 games of the season? Yes. But do you have most of the guys back from your defense from a year ago? Again, yeah, specific need, defensive line, tackles specifically. Yes. Like, what was so bad? Like when you're saying nothing will change. Well, if nothing changes, they're going to be competing for a spot in the playoff 11 months from now, right?
Right. They've got game changers on the roster. They don't need to go get game changers in the transfer portal. That's just the reality of it, if I'm being honest. Like that is CJ Carr not a game changer now? He's not a game changer anymore. Like a lot of the
Don Schuler, Drake Bowen,
going
down the line.
Leonard Moore, like those guys aren't game changers anymore. Like there's game changers on the roster. You just have some holes to fill, and not as many as IU has to fill, if we're being honest. And they'll be the first ones to admit it. That's why they're doing the hard sell of like, hey man, if you don't commit while you're on campus, then you ain't coming. It's a hard sell for a reason.
Decaf is asking, can someone explain the Burnham transfer to Indiana?
We can't get into specifics because it's really, that's stuff that is going to stay behind closed doors. But the bottom line was he wasn't getting the playing time that he wanted. And whether we agreed with it as analysts or we disagreed with it, and I disagreed with it, I thought he should be getting more playing time. He's going to go someplace where he can get more playing time. That's the bottom line, So I think that's really what it came down to. I just don't think he felt valued from a playing time situation.
Not that dissimilar from Rocco Spindler, Sam Pendleton.
Sure,
a couple names there, didn't I?
and Coogan, right? I mean, Coogan was the MVP of the Rose Bowl. He wasn't going to start at Notre Dame. That's just a fact. That's just reality. He wasn't going to start at Notre Dame, so he left. And kudos to him. Had a great year at IU.
Joe says, "Do you think there's more pressure with just one portal?"
Maybe to a degrrie, but I would argue
maybe that's why people are freaking out right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe even more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Look at it that way.
I would say, IU is bucking the trend. Like, they're literally in the Final Four, and they're still signing guys out of the portal. Like, they're doing it on all levels. Like, congratulations, man. Like, that's like the easy excuse. Well, we're getting ready for the Final Four, so not really focused on the portal. No, they're pretty focused on the portal. They're doing a good job.
This to me, Bernie's back. Welcome back, Bernie. I'm glad you came out of timeout. Let's find a little balance here. But he says Indiana owned us this weekend, and they're busy winning games in the playoffs. What are we doing? It's Monday in crickets, except that we lost another player.
What are you doing?
Though, Vince, is like, would you rather win the press conference,
right,
or win once the season starts?
Right.
That's
exactly.
So many people are about like winning day one, winning the press conference when the guy is announced and you say all the right things. Like Liam Cohen, Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, didn't necessarily win the press conference last year. He came out with the Duval, and everyone was like making fun of, like the way he said Duval and all the crazy things. And they're like, man, is this really the right guy? Well, look at the results a year later. The Jacksonville Jaguars turned into one of the best teams in the AFC. They're in the playoffs. They play the Buffalo Bills this weekend. A lot of people think that Trevor Lawrence is going to get the best of Josh Allen this weekend. I would rather win the long haul than win necessarily the right now. Like, don't overreact to right now, because again, it's been 3.5 days since the portal opened. The portal is going to be open for another 11 days. Notre Dame is going to go out and address some very specific needs, and I've got every confidence that they're going to be just fine when all is said and done.
Yep.
And as you said, who's going to be the starters at the end of August when the season kicks off next year, when Notre Dame goes up to Lambeau to take on Wisconsin? Who are the starters going to be? I still think that 90% of them are probably going to come from the roster that they have right now without any portal guys added to it.
I think it's going to be higher than 90%. It's going to be a number that starts with 9 for sure.
The number probably will be, because like when you think about 22 guys total, you're probably right. It might be closer to 95 or 96%.
Right.
That comes from the roster.
Exactly. And that's what people have to remember. The game changers are already here. They're already going to Notre Dame. They're already in class. They're already on the roster. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at. And again, people will be happy once it finally happens. It's just they live in the right now. And if it's not happening right now, then it's never going to happen, Sean. Come on. You should have a full roster on January 5th.
And the crazy thing is, Vince is one of the most impatient people I know, and he is preaching patience.
Right. Seriously. Like, I could not be any less upset about what's happening right now. I heard about the Nick Marsh news. I was like, shucks. Like, okay, who's next? Because again, I think there's a bunch of talent in the wide receiver room right now.
USMA 876 says we got to win the portal. Obviously, I agree, but you don't have to win it on day 1, day 2, or day 3. Like, that's just where it's at for me. I think that they're going to go out and they're going to get some really good players, and they're going to be key contributors, significant contributors, but I'm not going to freak out because they didn't get the first 2 flavors of the moment. The minute the chutes opened on the transfer portal, the doors opened on the transfer portal, they didn't get them on day 1, 2, or 3. I think they're going to be fine.
I agree.
I agree.
Yep.
All right. Rapid fire coming up. Hour number 2. We didn't even talk about what's going on with the defensive line coach, and there's a lot of other topics we're going to get to in rapid fire in hour number 2 of the show. That is coming up. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It's hour 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. And that can mean only one thing, Vince. Are you ready for rapid fire?
You darn tootin' I am. It's a new year. I'm ready for some rapid fire questions.
All right. Well, I'm not going to turn the page just yet on the transfer portal. I'm going to slip one or two in before we move on and get to some of these other topics. Bill says the big thing regarding the transfer portal is we haven't lost a bunch of top players. Mm-hmm. Everyone must be going after our guys. And then he adds to that, for me, winning the portal is retaining enough of our great roster and adding 2 defensive linemen, boundary receiver, and a kicker. Other than that, maybe depth pieces at quarterback, tight end, and running back. I think these are all pretty good points. Bill.
I think that's a very fair and balanced
take that I've heard today.
100%. And give it some time. Give it some time. Like, there are names out there, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say them or not, so I'm not going to, but there are names out there that Notre Dame's going after that people are going to be very happy about if they can land them. Just be patient.
Like, I don't want to put the cart before the horse and start talking about them, because then people just get more disappointed if they don't happen.
Right.
And then you just freak out. The freak out rate factor just goes right through the roof. But I think it's a great point on retaining the roster, because, like, who have you lost? Well, by and large, you've lost a bunch of depth guys, just like last year, and just like the year before as well. That's kind of been how things have gone since Marcus Freeman. I mean, obviously, there was no transfer portal when Brian Kelly was here, but the transfer portal era, that's really the way things have gone so far. They've done a great job of retaining the guys that they absolutely feel like they've got to keep, and it's been depth guys who have moved on. So I think that is every bit as important as, like, who you go out and you bring in from the portal is retaining your own roster. Right. That's a huge piece to this, because, again, their high school recruiting has been so good. It's continued. It's elevated this year. They've got a great freshman class coming in. And so I think that is a huge factor in all of this that I think has largely been overlooked by the people who are disappointed that they didn't make a bigger splash in the first week into the portal being open.
Yeah, and I think that's a very key thing to remember and understand. Notre Dame's not losing starters. If they lose a starter, it's to the NFL. Yeah. And that's where you want to lose a starter to, right? I mean, they're not losing the Leonard Moores of the world to another school. You're not losing, for example, Leonard Moore to an Alabama or to, insert school here. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but you're not losing your top flight starters to other schools like other schools are losing. Like, they're losing their starters. They're losing their starting quarterbacks. They're losing their starting left tackles, things like that. Notre Dame's not losing those kind of guys. Those guys are leaving to go to the NFL. They're leaving to play at the next level.
Or, quite frankly, a wide receiver who everyone speculated all season long that was bound to hit the portal. Like,
right. Exactly.
Still around, isn't he?
Right. So people, Notre Dame is just fine. They're just fine.
Right.
Give him a second.
The guy's grandpa popped in on multiple shows during the season and said he's not going anywhere. Right. And then he got shouted down by fans who were sure that, what does this grandpa know? Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. What does his family know? Come on. It's amazing. It's just amazing to me.
Okay, so maybe the biggest thing that did happen for Notre Dame this weekend was moving defensive line coach Al Washington to linebackers coach to replace Max Bulla, who, of course, is now the co-defensive coordinator at Michigan State. Then just a few hours later, we found out that Notre Dame hired Indianapolis Colts defensive line coach Charlie Partridge to coach the defensive line. So, Vince, what did you think of these moves?
Apparently, look, I would be lying if I said I know every assistant coach in the NFL and how good they are and all.
Come on, Vince.
I'm just.
What are you doing?
But from what I can,
searching every assistant coach in the NFL to find out his worthiness, how he's going to stack up once he goes to a major college.
I know, right? What I can gather from people who are more in the know about these positions and stuff, it sounds like this is a home run. It sounds like it's a home run. They did a very good job of kind of obviously moving Washington to linebackers and then bringing him in. because that's where he fits best. And Washington has coached linebackers before, so that makes sense. And the linebacker room is really freaking good already. And so let's roll. You know what I mean? So I think this is a home run hire from what it sounds like. I think you can probably feel pretty good about where the coaching staff roster is right now and guys leaving. And, there's still the NFL jobs that are going to open and some possibilities there, obviously. But I think you can feel pretty good about where things are at. I think Notre Dame's in really, really good shape when it comes to their coaching roster.
I mean, my first reaction when we heard that Al Washington was going to linebackers coach was, oh, man. Remember when Mike Elston did that? Like, that didn't really work out, but Washington has coached linebackers, and like for his career trajectory, it makes sense because, he's been in the running for some different positions and he hasn't been a coordinator. So I think that moving off the line and going back to coaching linebackers, which again is done in the past, I think that that's probably good for him and for the team. And then the fact that you bring in a guy like Partridge, who again, it's like, did we know Charlie Partridge's name last Thursday before this happened, even though he's, just right down the road with the Indianapolis Colts? No. But then you look at his background, and this is what you always do. Like, you look at his background, been a defensive line coach for a long time, Pittsburgh, Arkansas, Wisconsin, even had a, stint as a head coach at Florida Atlantic. And I think that you don't have to look too far into Partridge's past to look at a guy like Kalijah Cansey, former Pitt defensive lineman, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year just 3 years ago. And he goes from being a 3-star recruit out of high school, Cansey did, to being a first-round draft pick in the NFL of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just a couple of years ago. And, and this was a guy who Partridge coached. So I think you look at player development and it's like, boom, something like that pops right away. So it really feels like this is going to be like when you talk about Notre Dame kind of being able to go to another level, it feels like this could be the kind of move that really does that for Notre Dame on the defensive side of the ball.
I dig it. I'm excited to see what he can infuse into this defensive line. Obviously hoping they get a couple more bodies in there. But what is this going to look like, moving forward? I like it. I like this move a lot. I think this is one that you can be excited about. I really do.
I agree. One quick question from the YouTube chat. We talked about this in the first hour of the show. Hulk Strongest asked, do you want Keon Keeley? Keeley, of course, again, a former Notre Dame recruit who had committed to Notre Dame, ended up flipping and going to Alabama after 3 years. Keon Keeley is in the transfer portal. I just don't think that I don't know what his transcripts look like, but again, he is an undergrad transfer. I doubt that he has his degree from Alabama, and that is going to make it very restrictive for him or anyone else who is an undergrad who is still trying to, is still degree seeking, doesn't have his degree yet. I think it's going to be really hard for him or anyone in that profile to be able to transfer into Notre Dame.
It's a different, like if we're talking about Keon Keeley as a football player, you bring him in.
Right.
100%.
Right. You would want his skills.
Yes.
Right.
But there's other factors that you just named. And so it's going to make it very difficult for that to happen. But if somehow they can make it happen, yes, you want Keon Keeley. Don't be that guy. Well, he spurned us before. You don't want him now. Did you watch him play in the playoff? Because he made some pretty big plays for Alabama. I would like him to be on Notre Dame's roster. I just don't think it's realistic.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that Notre Dame wide receiver Jordan Faison is going to give up lacrosse to focus on football in his final year in college.
It's curious, to be honest with you, because he's a very good lacrosse player. Now, the pro potential of a football player from an earning potential versus the pro potential of a lacrosse professional player, huge difference, right? And, he has proven that he is a very important piece of the Notre Dame offense. And so he's going to get some looks and he's going to have an opportunity to play professional football where he's going to make way more money than he would have playing professional lacrosse. It's curious. I will say that because he came in as a lacrosse player, all of those things.
Right.
But it makes sense.
Yeah, Kevin Corrigan can't be probably too happy about the whole thing at this point.
Absolutely.
One, it is amazing to me that Jordan Faison, like we talked about KK Smith already being a senior and Keon Keeley at Alabama getting ready to be a senior. It is amazing that Jordan Faison is going to be a senior because it literally seems like yesterday where we were out there watching him at his first training camp, and it's like, wow, this guy can actually do some stuff. This guy who was a quarterback in high school, this lacrosse player, he actually looks pretty good out there. But now here we are, fast forward, and he's getting ready for his senior year. I think admirable is an interesting word that you use. Like, I think it's like from a career standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense for Jordan Faison because he showed a lot of really good things last year. And I think that when he looks at his career future, the career trajectory that he has, like he led Notre Dame like he led the entire team in receiving this past year as a junior. And that's while he was also splitting time. You know, he wasn't splitting time during the football season, but he was splitting time in the off season with the lacrosse team. And they had to find ways to balance that in the spring. And I think that he's got to feel like if he devotes himself full time to being a college wide receiver, again, a guy who wasn't even a wide receiver in high school, he was playing quarterback in high school, and to come in, like, I think that he's got to feel like he's going to give himself a really good chance to play in the NFL going forward. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
I like Faison to do it. And I think that it's also going to ultimately benefit Notre Dame and CJ Carr and the whole offense even more. The fact that he's given that up and he'll be full-time in the spring now,
right?
Full-time in the summer, doing everything, all focus on football. I think it's going to be really good for everybody.
I completely agree because he basically hasn't been around for spring. I mean, because he's been playing lacrosse and playing at a high level, right? I'm curious to see what happens with his brother now, too, because he's scheduled to play both lacrosse and football. And he's, in theory, I think, a better lacrosse player than his older brother. So, you know, what does that look like moving forward? And how good is Dylan? I believe his name is Dylan.
Yes.
What is he going to look like on the football field versus the lacrosse field and all of those different things? So I think it's the right move right now based on how successful he's been for the football program, for sure.
Fill in the blank. Fighting Irish linebacker Drake Bowen posted The Last Dance. Let's run it back on his Instagram account over the weekend, and you see that as a blank move.
I mean, he's trying to get excited. He's trying to be, you know, basically be a captain, which I appreciate. I'm not a big fan of the run it back stuff. I don't know why. It's a weird phrase to me. Like, you want to run back this season? Like, I don't know that's really what you want to do, but obviously that's not what he meant. He wants to come, you know, be back for another year and, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah. It's great. He's excited about it. He's ready to get after it in the off season. Okay, cool.
The Last Dance is what jumped out at me more than the let's run it back thing. But obviously we know that he's coming back. Like, to me, like The Last Dance, I mean, what do you think of when you hear The Last Dance? You think of the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls, and like they just did the doc, the 30 for 30 a few years back. But like, to me, like I respect the fact that, like, you know, you always hear like most of these young guys don't know anything about history or, you know, like any, you know, like,
okay.
The Last Dance is a reference to something that happened well before Drake Bowen was even born. So I like the little throwback reference that he made there. I think Drake Bowen is kind of a throwback guy in a lot of ways. And I respect the Last Dance reference that he made there. And, you know, it's like, it's kind of a circle the wagons kind of thing. I think, you know, like they're obviously putting everything they've got into what's going to happen in 2026. And I do think these guys like Drake Bowen, who are on this 2025 roster and who felt that playoff snub, I think it's going to fuel them this offseason. And I think it's a little bit of an indication of that. Like, we're here to win a championship in 2026. I think that's part of what Drake Bowen is saying with this.
Yeah. And I love it. I mean, he's obviously, he played a bunch his freshman year. I mean, so he's a 4-year player, right? And I was a little nervous that he might jump to the NFL draft, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm glad that he's coming back for his 4th year. That's big time.
I like this from Michael. We need to I'm going to cut that clip of Vince saying, I think his name is Dylan, as if he doesn't know his own son's name. I like that.
Well, yeah, speaking of, he just tried to call me because he's obviously oblivious to the fact that I actually work at this time.
Maybe he heard you say, I think his name is Dylan. And you don't even know my name? Say my name.
Say my name.
Say my name. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, more rapid fire with more Notre Dame topics, including Pat Coogan. And did you see that Sunday night football game last night? Ravens Steelers. We've got that coming up and more on the way. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com, along with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. We continue with some rapid fire here tonight. Some more questions I'm going to get to in the YouTube chat in minutes.
A lot of interaction today.
There is
interaction.
There is. Not surprising on this Monday. Good to be back, by the way. Like I said, it's been almost 2 weeks since I did a show. You still feeling like you still continuing to feel good? Like any ups and downs?
Well, like 85%, I would say. Today was my first day back to school, so I was definitely a little tired at the end of the day. Start to work that stamina back up there. But hey, I wasn't going to leave you hanging on a Monday afternoon. So
well, I'm glad you're feeling good.
It was good. I found out some crazy stuff about the cancer they took out of me. It was stage 3, Sean.
Really?
Who knew? I didn't know.
Advanced, man.
Yeah.
And you never had any pain or anything?
Nothing. Nothing.
That is crazy.
So yeah, just sans kidney now, and I had to bring the backup off the bench, and it's starters from here on out. So we can't go to the bench anymore. So we're good. We're good.
Good to hear. So Pat Coogan was named the Rose Bowl MVP for Indiana last week, former Irish center. Did Notre Dame miss him this season more than maybe we thought they might?
They missed him as their sixth man, because of the injuries, no doubt about it. Look, Pat Coogan is a good to great player. He was exactly what Notre Dame needed last year. He helped spark that run. He did all of those things. It's unfortunate maybe it's not unfortunate for Pat because he went to IU and now he's playing in the Final Four. So it worked out great for him. The unfortunate situation was that he was probably the sixth best guy and you need 5.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it. That's just the reality of it.
And I think I do think that they missed like some of that outward fire,
Sure.
Like we knew all about, his speeches and, all those different kind of things, I was right there like 15 feet from it before the national championship game. Obviously it wasn't the difference. It didn't push him over the top against Ohio State in the national championship game, but it did feel like they were missing that, like that.
I get that
extra juice, like, you had some good captains and Emil Wagner was a captain and he tried to do some of that stuff as well. It felt like they were missing that. Now, the other side of that, though, to your point is, had he come back, like, how far would any of that have gone when you're not starting for half the year until you're waiting for Ashton Craig to get hurt again?
Right.
It's unfortunate that Ashton Craig got hurt, but like between the two, I think Ashton Craig is the better player between the two. Like Lance is asking, how did Pat Coogan fare compared to Ashton Craig when he was healthy? I do think that Craig was the better player between the two. And that's why ultimately Pat Coogan, decided to head down to enter the transfer portal last year. And that's why he ended up down there. So, but I do think that they missed a little bit of that kind of juice that Pat Coogan brought him last year.
I think that's absolutely fair. But to your point, like how much juice can you give when you're the sixth man? How does that work? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, right? Because we didn't have an opportunity to see what that would have looked like, in game 1 down at Miami, as he's, going out the tunnel with the rest of the offensive line as a guy who's not going to start. Is he still giving the fiery speech or is that not really a thing anymore? You know what I mean? So, and again, I could not be happier for Pat Coogan and the success that he had at IU and the fact that he was the Rose Bowl MVP. Like that's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is freaking awesome.
Yeah. As Outbound says, he was a leader and a good hype.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
I don't know if you're the number 2 center. Like, I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to be able to provide that. Where at the same time, I do think that maybe that that's something that the line was missing. Again, if Pat Coogan had stayed, he's not going to be able to provide that from the bench. But I do think that like that kind of juice, that spark.
Yeah.
A few different people have said this because apparently they let Herb Street pick the MVP.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is what I heard immediately afterwards, that they let him pick it. Brian says ESPN with the full troll job naming Coogan. Do you think they were trolling Notre Dame a little bit? Like everyone else is, it seems like.
Maybe. It seems awfully manufactured, though, but it's fine. But and if that's the route you want to take, that's fine. I mean, he deserved it. He played really well. I mean, that's still a reality. But
I think if nothing else, they recognize that Coogan was kind of the leader of the pack,
Right.
like bringing the teammates out to New York City for Fernando Mendoza's, Heisman ceremony and that whole thing. And they were all out together. Again, I think that Pat Coogan brought a lot of leadership with him.
Absolutely.
When he went to Indiana. And I
Absolutely.
think as much as anything, that was probably recognized. And the fact that they kept Mendoza clean, I think that was probably recognized as well.
He played a great game, and he was an integral part of what they are doing, not what they were doing, what they are doing down at IU. No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
As Bernie says, Mendoza has called Coogan the IU MVP multiple times, and I don't disagree with that. But again, like between the two, Ashton Craig was going to play this year, and when Craig was healthy, I think that he is the better center of the two. But Pat Coogan brought a lot with him from Notre Dame to Bloomington. Willie says, what's the connection between Mark Cuban and IU that he has been a large part of their NIL? Well, Mark Cuban is an Indiana graduate.
He's a graduate.
Right. That's right. Connection. There is something at Indiana known as the not just known at, it is the Mark Cuban Center for Sports Media and Technology. He gives a lot of money. The part of their journalism department down there is named after Mark Cuban because he has written a lot of checks to his alma mater. Mark Cuban, a lot of people might not realize this, but probably someone would have done this at one point. But Mark Cuban made his first big money by being the pioneer of online streaming of like radio broadcasts. Mark Cuban in the mid 90s, he was an IU alum and he wanted to hear IU he wanted to be able to hear the broadcasts of Indiana Hoosier basketball. And so he is the guy who started like the whole trend towards streaming, all the sports broadcasts online. And so he started this tech company and they streamed it and then he sold it. And that's how he made his first big billion.
I know that.
Doing that. Yep. That's right. So that's his connection. There you go. As Stymie says, it was purchased by Yahoo. That's right. Radio sports broadcast streaming. That's where Cuban made his first big check. So did you watch any of the Steelers-Ravens game last night?
I saw the highlights. I did not watch the actual game itself, but I saw the highlights this morning, actually.
I watched the first quarter after I got home from North Carolina last night. Watched the first quarter. Then I watched a little bit more than an hour of the Stranger Things finale. I still have to finish that up. And so I was like, well, okay, I'm going to go back to the football game now. And then what a fourth quarter it turned out to be. But the Steelers kicker missed an extra point at the end of the game. And then the Ravens kicker pushed a potential game-winning field goal as time expired.
Damn kicker. He did too. He pushed it.
And
kickers are important, baby. Kickers are important.
They are important. They are also easy scapegoats when you
they are.
Miss kicks like that. But
which sucks, but yeah.
Yes. And so it ultimately got the Steelers the final AFC playoff spot last night. So my question to you, Vince.
Oh boy.
As much as we thought Notre Dame should have been a playoff team, and we all pretty much agree on that, isn't a similar tortured ending in a big moment the likely way Notre Dame's season would have ended had they made the playoffs, giving the kicking woes that they had all year?
It's definitely possible. I would like to think that Notre Dame would have won by enough that the kickers wouldn't have come into play.
Depending on opponent. I mean, they're opponents, so I think they would have beaten down. But like if Notre Dame had matched up against Indiana, could have seen a very close game. Or like if they were in a game like Ole Miss, Georgia last week, where every possession becomes important.
Right. No, listen, Notre Dame's kicking game is a travesty. No doubt. No doubt about it. And eventually that would have come into play. I mean, it obviously did last year against Penn State, huge kick at the end of the game to win it.
Absolutely.
And
at the end of the first half.
Absolutely.
They had to have.
Right. Right. So I mean, I'm happy for the Notre Dame kicking team that they didn't lose the season and put it on their shoulders like that.
Right.
But yeah, that definitely could have happened.
I'm
Absolutely.
just saying, when you get to the postseason, your deficiencies don't just go away. Like all your liabilities don't just disappear. What tends to bother you,
Yeah,
what your liabilities during the season only get magnified
absolutely.
once you get to the postseason, and that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like, again, like if you're in a game like Ole Miss and Georgia played last week, the odds are that there was either going to be a missed crucial field goal, had Notre Dame been involved, or they get stopped on fourth down because they don't want to kick a field goal, like in the red zone, which both of those things happened a lot during the season. That's kind of what
And I to be perfectly honest with you, it would have been very interesting to see what Marcus Freeman would do with the kicking game in the playoff.
Right.
To be honest,
Exactly.
because I don't think he would have kicked very much.
No,
I really don't. I think you would have seen
either.
Notre Dame go for it on an awful lot of fourth downs, even in the red zone. I really do think that.
Right. You're either going for it or you're punting because, you're probably not, like if you're in that territory, but your whole philosophy, your whole strategy changes because of the fact that you've had so many kicking issues. So
it would have been a fun topic of conversation throughout the playoff, though, wouldn't it? Of like Marcus Freeman's, decisions on fourth down.
Exactly.
And it would have been interesting because we certainly would have been talking about it.
Very interesting. Okay, we'll take our final break. We're going to come back, and some crazy things happen, both Notre Dame men's and women's basketball over the weekend. Crazier on the men's side, maybe deflating on the women's side. But we'll talk about that when we return with Rapid Fire, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers. We're talking about that Ravens-Steelers game last night and the kickers and all that stuff. I will say this, Vince. I know you hate Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, with a passion.
And I'm, mostly out on Aaron Rodgers as opposed to in. But I didn't want to see his career potentially end after a kicker missed an extra point because they were only up by 2 after that, after the kicker missed the extra point. It really would have stunk to see a guy's career end, a Hall of Famer's career end because a kicker missed an extra point. I will say that.
Well, I mean, that's fair, I suppose. You're just a kicker hater.
I know you hate him. I know you hate him.
I wouldn't mind if his career ended because he slipped on a banana peel. I mean, I don't really care, to be perfectly honest with you. That's the one thing I didn't like was watching him celebrate the missed kick. I didn't enjoy that.
Well, he was celebrating the missed kick because it meant that they won the division, and they.
I know.
In his case, maybe
I just don't like seeing him celebrate at all, like ever.
I got you.
That's all.
I got you.
That's all.
All right, the opposite of celebration: Notre Dame men's basketball versus Cal. I think we all probably know what happened
right
by now. Micah Shrewsbury goes viral, and like I said earlier, probably the most viral moment of the college basketball season with that controversial ending. What did you think of the whole situation, Vince?
Okay. Well, let's start at the top.
Okay.
Right? It was a horrible call. And then they reversed it, which was the correct call. And then they reversed it again.
Right.
A horrible call. Like you want to give officials the opportunity to fix a mistake, and calling that foul the way that they did was a mistake. It was an absolute mistake.
How was that any more a foul than the two, fouls that Imes attempted as the guy was bringing the ball around midcourt? Like, how was that any more a foul than that?
Yeah. Awful. Just an awful, awful call. Having said that, you still can't do what Micah Shrewsbury did.
Oh, man.
Like, that was about as unprofessional as you can get.
Yeah.
And just totally threw a wet rag over the entire game, over the entire scenario, over the bad call, over all of it. All you saw was him chasing after the official, and the official turning around like almost smirking at him, which I thought was actually pretty funny.
Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you actually catch up to me? What are you going to do?
Right. That's exactly correct. It was just a really, really bad look. And of course, then he issues an apology the next day. And it was just, I would love to take everybody back to his opening press conference when he talked about he's here to win national championships. And I was like, whoa, let's slow down a little bit. This is a really hard thing to do at Notre Dame. And, let's, baby steps. And everybody was like, no, he's here to win national titles. Well, we're 3 years in and he's chasing after officials. Like, how's everybody feeling right now?
Yeah. Were you surprised? I was surprised that he didn't get more of a punishment from the ACC.
Yeah.
Just, basically barely even a slap on the wrist. It felt like with the statement that they issued. It's like, yeah, we're aware of it. The matter's closed. That's it. Moving on.
I wonder, if everybody wants to jump onto the conspiracy theory train, like maybe they just feel bad about how they treated Notre Dame football. So they're like, well, we'll just let Shrewsbury chase after officials. Like, it's whatever.
You just can't do that, though.
No.
It's just.
Come on, man.
Yeah. You just can't do it.
Just a bad look. Like, it's just a really, really bad look because now everybody's talking about you. They're not talking like you were the quote unquote sports victim here beforehand. You know what I mean? Like that was a terrible foul. Like it was all of the things. And you had an opportunity to, go in and complain about the officials and do all the things.
I was amazed to see Fran Fraschilla just continuing. Like, I don't know if you saw his tweets, Fran Fraschilla, analyst for ESPN, game analyst and the whole thing, former coach and all that stuff. He just kept doubling down on the fact that based on the new rule and this continuation rule, it was an obvious foul. It had to be called a foul. And then Mike Bray started chiming in, and there were plenty of people, like coach type people, officiating type people who agreed with Mike Bray that it shouldn't have been a foul. And it was nuts that it was ever called a foul to begin with.
I don't even know that he even touched him, to be perfectly it was such a ticky-tack call in the first place.
Right.
And I realized they were trying to foul earlier and all, and they just didn't execute that particular game plan. Like, I get that. That's a failure on the player's part. But I don't even, I saw it in slow motion. I saw all the things. Like, I don't even know if he fouled at all, let alone to, through the shot. You know what I mean? Like, come on. It was bad. Exactly. It was bad.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the women's games over the weekend, either Thursday or yesterday?
No, I did not. But I saw the outcome, obviously, and I saw the texts from my father-in-law, who obviously follows both teams very closely.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, both teams are heading in the wrong direction." It was that kind of deal, and he's not wrong. So, so obviously you watched the women's games over the weekend because you're the play-by-play guy.
Yes, I did, Vince.
Yeah, and
yes,
so should Notre Dame fans be panicking after losing to Georgia Tech and Duke this weekend? I mean, it's not great, obviously. Where are things at for the ladies?
And I mean, obviously, I was surprised at just how overboard some people, even in the media, went after some of the stuff that I saw some of our local media people after the loss to Duke yesterday about they missed the turn, they're going to miss the tournament, and they're only playing 6 players and all this difference. Well, it's like, are they how exactly are they supposed to not play 6 players? Have you looked at the roster? And again, you can talk about roster building and all these different things and who they should or shouldn't have and whatever else, but KK Bransford is hurt right now. She can't play. I don't know what exactly they're supposed to do.
Right.
The Georgia Tech loss is obviously the most distressing because, one, you were on the road and you were up by 14 points at one point in the second half, and they ended up losing that game. And, it's a team with a sub 500 record, and you lost that game. The Duke thing is a completely different story because it's a really good team. And, you look at the overall size, that's what's bothered Notre Dame this season is when the other teams have size, because Notre Dame has 3 players who are, 6'2", 6'3", and Duke had basically a whole roster with the exception of just a couple players who weren't 6'2", 6'3". But they've only played 4 games right now. So I guess I'm surprised at the number of people who are like, "Oh, this team is, they can't cut it. They're not going to make the tournament," all this different stuff. Here's how I look at it. They've played 4 ACC games so far, which means that there are 14 ACC games to go this year.
Right.
I think if they end up winning 8 or 9 more ACC games, they're going to be in the ACC tournament. And when you look at their schedule, I think it's a completely realistic expectation that they're I think if they win 8, if they win 8 more, that gives them 10 wins in conference play, which means they'll be above 500. I think it's 7 years in a row now, something like that. The ACC has sent 8 teams to the NCAA tournament. And so if they win 10, 11 games in the regular season and ACC play, and again, look at their schedule. Now there are some tough games coming up. The odds are that they might lose a few more before they, find themselves in the midst of another winning streak because they've got some really tough games coming up. But I think if they get to 10 or 11 wins in the ACC, they're going to get an NCAA tournament bid. I think they're going to be just fine. That doesn't mean they're going to be hosting tournament games.
Sure,
the odds are probably pretty long on that right now, but I think that they're going to ultimately they're going to be right there. I still think that they're a tournament team, but a very rough weekend to say the least. Again, starting with that loss at Georgia Tech, that was the most baffling thing that I think that I've seen this season.
Well, and it's tough. Look, Notre Dame fell out of the top 25 for the first time in 4 years. That's a tough pill to swallow, obviously. I mean, it's a very proud program for good reason, right? Tons of success. And they're going to bounce back. I have full faith that they're going to bounce back. But we also knew going into the season, Sean, I mean, this roster was completely different than it was last year. I mean, completely different. And basketball's a game of finesse and feel, and you got to get used to the
matchup.
Absolutely matchups. And the matchup with Duke was not a good matchup for Notre Dame. It was not a good matchup.
No.
And so, it's going to take time, and it's going to take longer than people probably would like for this team to kind of gel. And again, like you said, there's injuries. They're not at full strength. That's part of it. I agree with you. The women's game is very strong right now overall. Like the NCAA women's game it's strong. It's stronger than it's been in a long time. And so it's deeper than it's been in a long time. But Notre Dame's still one of the best, the top 68 teams in the country. They're going to get into the tournament. I fully believe that. Again, are they going to host? No, we'll see. But there's a lot of runway left in this season. I mean, we just crossed over to the new year, right? The games that matter are now being played. And they're going to be played in the future. So yeah, there's plenty of runway left.
And they'll also get KK Bransford back at some point. And that's going to be a huge factor, as versatile as she is and everything that she brings as well. Again, like when you look at the fact that they've got a short bench right now. All right, we're going to wrap it up with that. Speaking of women's basketball, Vanessa De Jesus, she'll be a guest on tomorrow's show.
Here we go.
Got that coming up. We'll talk football at the start of the show. Vanessa De Jesus and rapid fire as always. Vince, enjoyed it as always. I'll talk to you later.
Let's go.
Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com.